So this video, we're just taking off here from Ghazni. We're going to fly to the south. And what we're doing is, earlier that morning, I think it was the day before actually, we just did our morning run-up. And as we were coasting down the rotors, there was a gentleman walking towards the aircraft wearing a green flight suit. And really didn't look like a military guy. And as he got closer, I realized he wasn't. He had different patches, whatever. Introduced himself, and he was a professional aviation photographer from Poland. He spoke very good English, and we got to talking. And actually, over time, even after I got back from Afghanistan, became pretty good friends. He actually moved out to Las Vegas, but has a lot of books published and took a lot of awesome aviation photos throughout the years. Anyway, he asked if we could do a formation flight to Blackhawks behind a Mi-8 hip, and so he could take pictures of us in formation and just kind of flying together and do some solo shots of my aircraft. And the coolest part about it, and the most intriguing part about it for wanting me to do this was, unfortunately, it's not in the video because obviously I'm sitting in the right seat, couldn't really record backwards. But a Mi-24 Hind joined us a little bit later after he got pictures of us, and our lead aircraft, the other Black Hawk, he circled back and went back to base. The Hind joined me on my rear left side, and we flew in formation and got some photos of that. And probably the only known photos of a U.S. Black Hawk flying formation with an Mi-24. Like I said, I don't have video of it. However, I do have still pictures that I included in this video of it. I have multiple photos. And the cool thing is, like a couple years later, after I get back, photographer got a hold of me and got my address, and he actually sent me the published bound or hardcover book with all these photos in it, and it was pretty awesome. So you see here, I'm just trying to tighten up on the other aircraft. You can kind of see the hip. There he goes, kind of crossed over the nose of the other Black Hawk, and objects in mirror are closer than they appear. I mean, we are definitely closer than it looks like. So I'm just going to try to tighten up on the other Hawk here so we can get some photos, and I have attached a couple of those photos. There's one on the second aircraft in that picture. And unfortunately, I cut out a lot of the video here because I'm flying off to the left side, and that pillar's kind of in the way. Can't really see what's going on. And you got another still picture coming up here. There we go. They asked us to shoot some flares for some dramatic effect. There they go. But you notice that little red tab hanging in the side window there, plexiglass window or Lexan window. Basically, that tab is connected to a rubber seal that goes all the way around that window. In the event that we can't get out the door latch is broke or it's jammed shut, you can yank on that tab, pull the whole seal out, and the window will fall out, and then we can climb out the big hole there. So I know some units in Iraq, they actually pulled those out and flew with the windows open, although that caused a lot of buffering in the door. So I know when I was in Iraq, we actually just took the whole door off. Yeah, we launched some more flares there. Flying without doors was pretty awesome over there, and honestly, I don't know how we would have survived without it because it was so stinking hot there. Anyway, all this has taken place kind of south of Ghazni, and then we just kind of circle around over the terrain. As you can see, it was a very beautiful day, and I think this is where the lead aircraft kind of peels off, and then I kind of come up on the hip. There, I cut some video out there of me coming up on the hip, and then there's going to be a solo shot of me. There we are right there. I'm in the right seat. And there's the hip. As I said, we're a lot closer than the appears in the video. And I can see their eyes. And there's a view from the back of the hip, along with a PKM machine gun, belt-fed machine gun. And at this time, the Mi-24 is moving into position off my rear left side. Bam, there they are. Beautiful. Yeah, this is where we were almost underneath the hip, and we were talking to them on the radio, and they were just kind of telling us where to go, where they needed us, so he could get the best shots. And I think that is an amazing shot. I actually have a very large print of that blown up and hanging on my son's wall. But I think the whole thing, we took about 30 minutes. He was doing a bunch of pictures there. I have a few more, some of them, but he was just kind of snapping them left to right. Some of them are, they're all great, but my nose might be up or it's too far down where I'm trying to slow back or something. And I just cut some off as we're now inbound to Ghazni to land. And you'll notice that blimp looking thing off to my 1230 there. Each of the larger fobs had these on the base, and they were tethered most of the time from pretty much the center of the fob, and they could be raised or lowered depending on whatever they needed them for. And they had some highly sophisticated camera systems mounted on there, and they could zoom in on a guy's license plate from a couple miles away. It was pretty insane. They could watch the bad guys trying to bury bombs in the roads around the base and stuff, so we could get out there and whack them before we ran into them. Sometimes the weather was so bad that they actually brought them back in. But on this particular day, I was flying with a gentleman, young lieutenant, first lieutenant. His name was, Lieutenant Scott Kuhn, and I did a lot of flying with him while I was there, and he spent a majority of his time at Ghazni. So pretty much every time I went to Ghazni, he was there, and we flew together quite frequently. Great guy. And I know I've told you before in my videos that I don't use names. However, unfortunately, a couple years ago, Scott Kuhn was killed in a motorcycle accident. So we lost him, and that was pretty terrible when we found that out. But currently we are parked at the called the FARP, getting hot refuel and get topped off for the next mission, should we get one. And there's Scott Kuhn right there. Great guy. Till Valhalla, brother. Thanks.